Hello, my name is Amy and thank you very much for watching. So, I've been doing gardening inside for about a year and I've collected quite a few different types of lighting. So, that's also why, in case you're wondering, we're in my bathroom. It's because this is the darkest place in my house. And what are we gonna do? I downloaded a Lux meter and it's an app in the App Store. I think it's just called Lux. Here. It was a free, yeah, it's just called Lux. And you can measure either lux or foot candles. And I'm going to be taping this measuring tape down to the table. And we're just going to be measuring the light and how much lux each light gives off at which distance. So here we go. Hi, so before I start taking out any of the lighting fixtures in here, let's just see what lighting we have here. So here is my middle layer, and everything is kind of growing. So we have some that are like 1,000 lux. Like this cucumber here has, you can see that, but like 1,300. The closer you get here, like the closer you get to this, it can get to about 6,000, 10,000. Nice, but you're on the plant. Like the plant is on it. So, for example, I have this tomato and it's been like 3 months. It's supposed to be a 60-day tomato. So this is finally starting to ripen, but it's also in the light and it's getting burned, but it's also just now fruiting. So, and then for this we have this big monstrosity, which is also using the light fixture as the lattice, as the trellis. And I ordered all dwarf varieties of things, so I don't know how I wound up with like a 7-foot tomato plant just hanging out. And the thing down here is I have these red and blue, and for the longest time I had just these on, and I put this so that I could get the lights closer to where the plants were. But even it doesn't make any difference. It's still like, if you're directly on the pipes, it's still only like 1,500. You go directly on this, you're not getting above 2,000. Like, you're literally on it, and it's not emitting any light. And then, so this is the NFT system, and this is probably why it's not been giving me the results that I want. Meanwhile, this messy setup is actually my new setup, and I unboxed one of these lights, and what is this doing? I turned it on, I was like, oh man, this is so bright, I have to buy more. So you can see, like, this is getting like 16,000. These are getting 5,000. My cat is getting angry. Meow. You say you like these lights too, or they're too bright, or actually, Mom, you just need to clean up. That's fair. I do need to clean up. Anyway, so these lights are super bright, and so I bought like 6 more, and we'll see if that's enough. But what I want to do for the rest of the video is actually just test out all of the lights that I've bought so far and give mini reviews. Let's take a moment to talk about Lux, because that will make everything that we do later make sense, or more sense as we go along. Hopefully I will be at the very end putting all of these things together, a direct comparison between all of them. But so Lux measures the intensity of the light. So if we take the cues from nature, we say the sun at noon, it has about 10,000 lux. So, you know, early morning light isn't as intense because, you know, at noon the sun is directly on top of the plants, so that's the most intense sunlight throughout the day. And then we can say that for full strong daylight is about 6 hours per day. Of course, if you are a gardener, you know that not every place in your garden has what would be termed full sunlight. So, of course, you have, when you are gardening in nature, or outside, really, you have to pay more attention to, like, what your natural landscape looks like, and what you're planting, and how they interact with each other. So, what does this mean? Because you say, like, oh, well, does my plant need 10,000 lumens on it all the time? The answer is no, because in order to get the 10,000 plus lumens, your light gets very hot, and the warmer the light is, usually the less efficient the light source is. So it's all a big balance between, like, how the least amount of wattage for the most amount of plant growth. So it's not just the intensity, it's the amount of time. And also, since we're not growing outside, I can put my lights on for 20 hours a day, or 23, or all the time. It's not healthy for the plants to be on for 24 hours, just like people, they need to rest too to be healthy. So if you want to have your plants on for 20 hours a day, you can have less amount of lux, as long as the total lux needs are met for that plant per day. Now, I'd like to take you to a website, because I definitely didn't know this off the top of my head, and I always have to look this up. So I don't know these people, but this makes sense to me. So for a full sun plant, they need 60,000 lux per day on average. A medium light plant needs 35,000 lux per day. A low light or partial shade plant needs 15,000 lux. And low light plants or heavy shade plants need only about 1,000 to 5,000 lux per day. And where is what is the conclusion here? When we go through this, I'm not going to be doing the math as I talk. However, think to yourself, how can I get to 60,000 lux? If the plant has, 10,000 lux on it per hour, we can get that amount in 6 hours. If we're at 5,000 lux, we need it to be on for 10 hours. So that's just, as we go along with this video, I just want you to keep that in mind. And there's also another thing where, probably for the partial shade, the lowest lux you want is about 2,500. So just so we're all on the same page. Okay, so this first one is the first one I ever bought, and it was from AliExpress. The light here is a pink, and the theory here was plants don't actually need green light, so let's focus on blue and red. And this was sold as a grow light, and it's LED, it's waterproof, and it took like 4 months to get here because it was right before the USPS was shit. So let's reset the timer or the measurement, and let's just put the light right on top. Like if I'm literally on top of this, this gets to a maximum, it says 500 something, but anyway, so at 1 inch, we're at 160. That didn't last very long. Sorry about that. So this will be 6 inches. We're at like 60 lux, and there, and then at 12 inches, we're at about 60. Sorry, we're at like 20. And then at, let's try 18 inches. This is not, we're at like 10. Like, we're not, it's not worth going on. But what if this stops coming up? At least I know it's not going to be stuck to the table. Let's, because when you, the more light you show, like, you can have the light be more dense. So let's wrap it around my finger, my hand. And the good thing about LEDs, why I bought so many LED strips, is they're low commitment. You can just move them. There's not really a set, you can fit them into any space because they're, you know, flexible. They are a little bit of a pain in the butt though, because sometimes they don't want to twist back around. But anyway, this, with our power combined, this is pretty much as bright as it will ever get. So if we just stick my hand on top of here, like literally on top of this, we get to, the maximum is 2,200, but those lights are literally on top of the cell phone, which at this point, the cell phone would be the plant. The good thing is that this doesn't put off any heat, so I don't know if it would even, great. So this is 6 inches. We're back at like 400. When I put this back down, I put the inches on the other side, like a normal person would, I guess. This is at 120, and I'm good at this. 24, we're at like 26 lux. And I'm gonna discuss this more at the end, once we have all the measurements, what is good and what is bad, but this is fairly bad, like, no. So these, I don't know if this will even focus, but these are lights I got off of Amazon. They are also LED, they're also waterproof. They're actually strips of 4 and I took the back off at one point, so now they're sticky. But these I bought these off of Amazon, and I bought them because the AliExpress lights were taking just way too long. So let's just do one of these for now. Just make sure that, yeah, that's not really affecting it. So let's put this just like over. If this was touching the plant, it would be at about 3,600, something like that. But you don't want it on the plant because you would have a very distressed and burned out plant. So we need better tape. So let's put this about 6 inches. I keep accidentally touching that. I don't want to tip you, sorry. So you put this about 6 inches away. There. Why did they make that so big? So at like 6 inches, it's at like 70 lux. And then at 12 inches, we're at like 40. At 18, we're at like 27. So the only way this would work out very well is even if it's right on top, it's not very consistently super a lot. But let's try this with 2. I'm super good at everything. Okay, so when there's 2, it's very hard because the sensor from my camera. Alright. So you go up, keep going up, and the further you get away, the less the lux is. And if you add 3, it gets very hot, and it's still not very much a lot. So, not very much a lot. Jeez, okay. So at 6 inches, here we're at like 150. At 12 inches, we're at, trying to get this to not be on top of the camera. Okay. That'll work out better, I think. So 12 inches. And then, why is everything so complicated? At 24 inches, which it doesn't want to give me. Just say it's not very effective. So when I'm right on top of the camera lens, it is like 500, 600, depending. And then you keep going up, 6 inches, we're at 100. Then at 12 inches, we're at 45. Then at 24, we're at like 20 lux. So now, this is the last strand of LEDs that I have, but these are white light, and eventually I was wondering why is nothing growing? And I came across, someone said something about 6,500 Ks as the light warmth, because plants are pretty good at getting, you know, separating out the colors from the spectrum. So white light, not like the warm yellow, basically. So I bought these. They're not waterproof, but they are what is in my hydroponic system right now before I upgrade it. So let's go ahead and just, where did my, okay, sorry about that. Where did my, So to reach over. Okay, so when we're right on top of the camera, we get, you know, the most was 6,000, almost 6,000, but consistently about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Now, if we go up to about 6 inches, it goes to 300, and when we go to 12 inches, about 120, and then 24 inches is here, and that's 224, but I also have a bunch of these lights coming down here. So let's try with my whole hand. Or with some wrapped around my hand, more like it. Because with more lights together, it should, at a distance, at least theoretically, have more power. We'll see. That's probably good enough. Okay, so let's start with this much at about 6 inches. So like on, we're at, you know, consistently just about the same. But if this is close together, it's at 800. Then here, 12 inches, it's like 300. And then at 24, we are at 223. So there's that. So I turned it all around, so hopefully this is easier for you to see and also for me to show. I put the camera on the other end so that it's no longer bumping into my chest. Anyway, so this type of light is a clip-on to the table, the edge of the table type. And this one has 4 wands, and I bought it off of Amazon. I was tired of things not growing. So at 6 inches, this one, oh, let's reset, okay? So right on top of this gets to about 13,000. And then at 6 inches, this is going to be more difficult than you'd think. Okay, so at 6 inches, we are at about 800, 900, 700, something like that. Okay, so at 12 inches, oh no, okay, this is a wire thing, so it requires more finagling. So this is actually at about 12. So at 12 inches, this is about 500, 600. And then at 24 inches, I don't think it gets that high, but let's try. This would be at its full height here. And there you go. This is it at full height. It's like 300. So there are actually 4 of these, so let's just put all 4 on there at the same time. Let me unclip this so that I can actually just have the 4. It'll be much easier. So you can see there's 4 ones. They're all going in. You can swivel them so they're in the same direction, which is what I want to do. And you can see when it's right on top of the phone, it's like 9,000, 10,000. Let's see, at about 6 inches here, we get to about 4,000. At 12 inches, we're also at like 1,000. And then at 24 inches, it gets to be about 300. Okay, so this one it's also the kind that clips onto the table, but has like an aluminum head, and then you have the bright white light. And I actually didn't buy this one. I stole it from a friend. She was no longer growing things and had no more use for it, so she let me take it. Anyway, I asked, she let me, didn't really steal it. So as you can see, when it's right on top of here, we are at, 25,000. That's the max. And then I don't want this to drop. We all want things in life, don't we? Okay. Chaotic energy. Okay, so this is at about 6 inches, so we're at like 4,000. Sorry, there's a glare. So it's like 5,000, 6,000. Okay, and now for 12 inches. Sorry, this is not cooperating. Okay, so at about 12 inches here, you see it's like, it's like 1,000. And then, let's see, 24 inches. Here, we're at like 280, 300. Now let's have all 3 of them together. You'd think that this would be easier, but no. Okay, so just like before, the closer you get, it has, really high numbers. And then you get further away. Let's get to okay. So about, this is about, oh man. You cannot see that. There is too much glare. But I am seeing at about 6 inches, it is about 5,000, 6,000, somewhere in there. And then for 12, it is, okay. The number I'm reading is about 2,700. And then at 24, we are at 600. So 700-ish. So these are much better lights than what I was buying before. And that actually opened up my eyes to my new favorite. Okay, so I have found my, oh, what if this is, it's plugged in. Okay, so this one is on a stand, and it has 4, no, hold on a second. It goes up to 42 inches. It slides and it's nice, but it also has, these weird rod things. And there's 4 of them. But this one, we're going to just lower the stand to be at the desired length, because it's on a gooseneck thing, so you can make it whatever the height you need or want. But here, let's reset this, and then here's what 1-1 does when you're on top. So it's at like about 8,000, and then at let's see, this is about 6 inches, and it's so hard to do this and let you see. So we're at like 1,000 lux, and then as you get up, this is very typical of what we've seen. So this is like 24 inches, but when you have all 4 of them, when you're at 6 inches or so, it gets to be about 4,000, 3,000. Then it very quickly, as you get up, it's almost as if there's no light. So that's the one for the rod. Okay, so this one is a light that comes with a stand, but it also comes with clips so that you can hang it up, which is nice. So I didn't buy this before I did because I was more in love with having multiple head, like rod things. That way I could have more flexibility about where it's pointing. But we'll see. I'll show you. So this one is really bright. So if I put this right on top, we're going to get to the maximum 2,500. And when we go to so at 6 inches, this is also at 2,500, the maximum. And then at 12, and we're right on top of this, we are at 4,200. And then at 24 inches, we are at 3,000. And you really can't see this because of the, oh, you can see this, but I keep going higher, and so eventually, yes, it does have less. I am reaching above my head. It is at 300, but at a reasonable level, we are at, 9,000, 10,000, reasonable. And the other thing with this is it's so bright, you don't actually want the plants to be too close because it will actually burn the plants because it's so hot. But that's why I've bought a bunch of these, and I'm going to install them in my hydroponics system. I just filled in this whole thing without recording. Woo! Okay, so this is the Pico. This is what it looks like. It is a self-watering container, and it has a min and a max line. And the thing with this is you're not supposed to have the light more than a couple of inches away from the top of the plant at any one time. But just for giggles and shit, basically. So when the plant is a seedling, we're at like 15, 13, depending on what we do. So like about 15,000. And then you bring it up, and it's about 3,000, 4,000. And basically, if you have some overhanging stuff, it's you know. But overall, the closer you are to the light, it only extends up 8.5 inches. So yeah, when you're really, really, really close to it, it's at 16,000. But when you're, the correct amount, it's about 8, 7, about 5, 6,000. Like, we're good. So this is my AeroGarden and a bonus mint clipping that is supposed to be in partial light. So let's start with the mint that is in the partial light. This is gonna be, so we're from right here next to the leaf, we are at, 4,000 lux. But if we're here, and I'm pretty sure this is the lowest setting, I can't even see that myself. So it's reading 13,000. You can't see that because it's too bright. But yeah. Now, this is going to be difficult two-handed. So I'm just going to leave this precariously on there. And can you see it? Can I see it? Okay, so it's at 12,000. I wish you could see that. 14,000. Okay, then, and this is the lowest setting. I'm just gonna push this up a little higher so at the next notch we're at 12,000, 15,000, and this is like the Pico, or the Pico is like the AeroGarden, because the AeroGarden was here first in my house and also as a company. But you're supposed to keep basically the plants are not supposed to be more than like this below it, because any higher, and these LEDs do give off a lot of light and you will burn your plants. So let's ruin my stuff. Okay, so put that back on. So from this height we're at, the 2,500, 41,000, 3,000 basically. I just wish you could see that better. And then I'm gonna try to, what is it, fully extended. Okay, this is fully extended. At this height, we are at averaging about 4,000, but here's how this is going to work. Sure, this is at 5,000, but it's also at 2,000 over here. It's also, so it up to about 3 or 4 inches away from the AeroGarden. The light is still pretty good. So, it's like this is the shadow. So, but when, like, this is my countertop. That's, so here are the results that I have. I don't usually keep my lights on more than 14 hours a day because I do not sleep very well with lights on, and I do not keep a litter box in my bedroom, and it would not, I mean, I have cats, so they need to be able to move in and out. So I feel like 14 hours is a reasonable amount of time. So for a not full sun plant, they need 35,000 lux per day, which I told you before is about 2,500 lux per hour. And the thing is too with this is, like, the AeroGarden and the Pico, you really don't have a choice. I mean, you do, it's just that they have a certain amount of pods and they're kind of set up to already be in the correct position at the correct height. My new favorite gets really hot, and in my continuous flow system, if I had put it on top of directly on, so it was up and down, it would be too hot. So I had to put it down further, but it doesn't have a great amount of, what am I trying? I'm trying to say that it's great for when the plant is in the direct path of the light, but it's not very angled. It only has like a 20-degree angle. So it means that 2 lights wouldn't have covered my entire thing. So I wound up putting them on opposite ends on the edges, which means that now everything has the right amount of light, but I have to be more careful about the placement of my plants so that tall things don't block the light. But you know, these are like first world problems over here. So if you're wondering why your plants aren't growing and you don't have like a low light type of a like a lot of houseplants come from, they're basically rainforest tropical plants that are used to having dappled light, so they do not require as much light as other plants. I'm more interested in growing things that I can eat, which are not typically grown inside. So basically just be aware, and it's very easy to download a lux meter on your cell phone and just go around and checking and making sure that everything has adequate light. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and I guess that I will try to put some of these links. Oh, by the way, notice at the very, very end, so probably nobody is watching, but I'm not sponsored by any of this. Sorry, I get like 1 view so far per video, so I'm not popular. What can I say? But anyway, what lights do you like to use indoors, and what have you used that works well for you? Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.